Well, the SEC has 4 teams sitting in the top 5 in college hoops, and 2 of them meet this Saturday. It's number 1 Auburn visiting number 2 Alabama for an Iron Bowl basketball edition. This is the first time ever these two have met, while both being ranked in the top 5. A bit of history for the 2 programs in the conference, but not lost on Tigers head coach Bruce Pearl.
When you walk into the locker room, you see an AU sign, but underneath it says "Make History," and that's something that has mattered to us. Even though we're talking about making history, the history we're talking about is moving forward. But this is the first 1-2 matchup in the SEC that's ever happened. I just don't think if you were trying to predict whether it would be who would be in that matchup, Kentucky certainly would be a school that would be in it. It'd be Kentucky and who else? Could it be Tennessee? Could it be Florida? Could it be Arkansas back in the day with Nolan Richardson? Or could it be a Dale Brown LSU team? Who could it be? I don't think many people would have picked Auburn and Alabama to be that team.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about all those programs. You would have thought it would have happened at some point, but this is SEC history, as Bruce Pearl noted. First SEC matchup between the top 2 teams in the country. We've only seen an intra-conference 1 versus 2 3 other times in the past 30 years. Most recently, 2016, when Kansas beat Oklahoma back in the old Big 12. The number 2 ranked teams have wound up in the winner's circle. The other 2 occasions between Ohio State beating Wisconsin in 07 and UNC beating Duke back in 1998. Director of Scouting for 24/7 Sports and CBS Sports Insider, Adam Finkelstein, in studio with us now. And Adam, when you look at what the SEC has going on, particularly in that top 5 with 4 teams there, what can you say about the health of the conference?
Oh, it's better than it's ever been. I mean, it's better than any conference has ever been, to be quite frank. I mean, when you think about this, the Big East set a record with 11 teams back in 2011, and the SEC is in position to potentially shatter that. And that doesn't even take into account just how good the very top of the conference is. So they have depth and star power alike. This is a matchup that headlines it at a time of year when football fans are looking for headlines, and so it's really a great thing for college basketball as well, because you get 1 versus 2 on the first weekend after the Super Bowl with everybody starting to turn into college basketball. It's a great thing.
We saw Bruce Pearl talk about the whole history behind this and what it means for the SEC and their program there at Auburn. They talk about making history there. He's been a part of a 1-2 matchup before, back when he was in Tennessee. Does the been there, done that sort of help him here? How much do you think that plays a role in Saturday's game?
I think what is certainly Bruce Pearl's experience is a factor. But I think for Nate Oates, this is a guy who went to a Final Four last year as well. So these are 2 head coaches that have had somewhat similar mantras, if not similar styles. And that's hey, we can do it here just like we could do it anywhere. They'd never really won to this extent at Auburn. When Nate Oates came in, everybody said, hey, this is a football job. They didn't win the press conference when Nate Oates got hired at Alabama. He was coming from Buffalo. And he said, we're not a football school, we're a championship school. So both coaches have done it in their own unique styles, but with a similar mantra of we can win at the highest level at these respective places.
Taking a look at that 2008 meeting between Tennessee and Memphis, Bruce Pearl got that game there. I wonder if he'll do it again. But when you look at Bama, they're at home. They play very well at home. Obviously, when you're the number 2 team in the country, you're doing something right. What is their path to victory tomorrow?
Well, I think they have to make shots. I mean, when you look at their last game against Texas, they made 17 3-point shots. And anybody who has watched a Nate Oates coach team over the years knows that analytically he is driven to take a lot of 3-point shots. What's interesting about this year's team is, for as good as they are not a great shooting team. And that's counterintuitive because of how successful they are. Now, when they make shots, they are almost unbeatable. They made shots against Texas. I think that has got to be a key here as well. I'm also very interested to see what happens along the front line. Obviously, Johni Broom's one of the best players in college basketball. Auburn plays a high post-up style. Alabama's been doing, from a lineup construction standpoint, been starting 3 front court players at the same time with Cliff Amorie, Grant Nelson, and Jaron Stevenson. That leaves them without really a true big in their second unit because Aiden Sherrell's kind of fallen out of the rotation a little bit. So if any of those guys get into foul trouble, what happens when this becomes a bench game? That's going to be an interesting subplot to this as well.
All right, so let me put you on the spot here, because as you mentioned, this is like the marquee sporting event outside of the football season now that we're hitting the winter and spring months. 1 versus 2, Auburn, Bama, Iron Bowl basketball edition. Who's your pick?
I'm going with Bama, and I think this is a more important game for Bama. They may be 1 versus 2 in the AP poll. This is 1 versus 6, according to most analytics. Alabama is 6 in both the net and KenPom. They need this game more than Auburn when it comes down to who's going to be playing for #1 seed. And remember, this could be just the first of potentially 4 times these two schools play each other. We know they've got another regular season matchup coming up. They could meet again in the SEC tournament, and maybe in the NCAA tournament as well.
We'll see if they're 1 and 2 at any other point in the rest of the way in their schedule, because over time, number one teams are 23 and 21 against the #2 in these 1 versus 2 matchups. So should be fun. And the SEC, man, they're going to beat each other up all the way through March, aren't they?
They certainly are.
Adam, thank you so much. Still to come, best bets of the college basketball weekend. Tim Doyle jumping on next.